Hello there, comrades. It is I, your Supreme Overlord, Vanny Vanilla. Welcome back to another episode of Gundam Death Breakdown. Today is a continuation of the last Gundam Death Breakdown featuring Zeon Ace pilot Ramba Ral. Quick recap, after numerous attempts at trying to take out the White Base, Ramba Ral leads an assault to seize the ship in hand-to-hand combat. Unfortunately, he forgot to fight, his words, not mine.
In the middle of a fight, Ramba Ral forgot to fight.
And ends his own life in a blaze of glory by jumping off of White Base and exploding into Gundam's hand. This battle not only injures Ryu Jose during the climactic gunfight, it also lights a fire under Crowley Hammond to get even or die trying. Not only will Hammond attempt to complete Ramba Ral's original mission by taking out the White Base to avenge Garmazabi, she must now take revenge for losing the love of her life, Ramba Ral. So let's break it down.
3, 2, 1.
So, because two are involved in this breakdown, we're going to need two character intros. First, Crowley Hammond, no age verified, was the lover of Ramba Ral, a captain of the Principality of Zeon. Despite the game Giran's greed giving her the rank of First Lieutenant, Hammond is not a soldier. That being said, she has a high tactical insight and her subordinates admire her. They could be simping, but I digress. Aside from one extra episode, she gets as much screen time as Ramba Ral. However, in Gundam Origin, we learn she is also a master of disguise and a bar singer, but this video focuses on her fate in the original Mobile Suit Gundam series. And then there's Sergeant Ryu Jose, an 18-year-old Argentinian of the Earth Federation. A mediocre Mobile Suit pilot at best, he was still the heart and soul of White Base. He often acted as a mentor of the young and experienced White Base crew. Normally, he operates the bottom half of the gun tank, and he's a major character in the series and has a huge impact on the White Base crew. We pick up where we left off with the remnant forces of Ramba Ral's attack unit. What was once a force to be reckoned with seems to be dwindling in both firepower and men. Hammond, accompanied by her assistant Tachi, overlooks their rather pathetic array of weaponry, a rundown Zaku 2, and 4 Magella Tops. We've already gone through the Zaku 2 and its basic armaments, but a quick note, this Zaku 2 in particular is the MS-06J ground-type Zaku. The big difference between the standard issue Zaku 2 and the ground-type was the removal of all of its vernier thrusters aside from its main 2 thrusters on its backpack. Its reactor also has more output considering it's now operating under Earth's gravity. Finally, it also featured better insulation against the environment. After all, what was it that Anakin said about sand?
It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere.
Aside from that, it's pretty much the same Zaku. But what we have not looked at is the pride and joy of Zeon's tank division, the Magella tank. The Magella tank was composed of 2 parts. Its tank-like base, the Magella base, and its turret, the Magella top. The Magella top could eject off of the base and sustain flight for a few minutes. But it was more of an escape pod rather than a fighter, as its firing was highly inaccurate without its base for stabilization. The Magella top had a whooping 175mm cannon that was set high above the hull for long-range artillery fire. Unfortunately, it's unable to rotate. The entire tank has to be moved in order to change its firing trajectory. Compare this to the Federation's much more mobile and traditional-looking Type 61 main battle tank. The neat thing about the Magella top is the cannon becomes retrofitted into the 175mm recoilless rifle. This powerful cannon in the hands of a Zaku is a deadly weapon. Not only does it have the ability to fire from a great range, but it also has the ability to fire heat and APF SDS rounds. Tachi comments on how Makuve has offered little to no help to their unit. This is a typical move by Makuve. He's bolstering his defenses in Odessa in anticipation for the Federation's major offensive. Hammond is all too familiar with Makuve's unwillingness to help ever since Makuve refused to send DOMs to Ramba Ral's unit.
What? You mean we're not going to receive any DOMs?
No, sir.
However, Tachi has agreed to help Hammond as he feels the same way of taking revenge for Rambaral's death. After a refreshing shower, Hamon gets dressed in her normal suit. You think that lucky guy was able to get a peek at Hamon's goods? Meanwhile, on White Base, the ship was heavily damaged from the previous attack by Rambaral. Not only that, they lost a number of crew members during the assault. Hayato even mentions to Kai that they are low on weapons, supplies, and parts. Things are looking very grim for the White Base crew. Just think a few episodes ago, their only problem was trying to get some salt for their food.
I just noticed it a short while ago, sir, but I'm afraid we're almost out of salt. Can we get a fresh supply?
What? Really? We're out of salt?
Yes, sir.
On top of all these woes that the White Base crew is going through, then we have Bright Noah.
So what about Amuro then?
Don't even say it.
Bright is holding an awfully nasty grudge to Amuro, as Amuro is locked up in the brig still. Tachi makes the remains of the Gallup's cargo unit with 3 of the 4 Magellatops. The 4th Magellatop has been dismantled into a Magellatop cannon for the Zaku 2. They also have 2 Samsons, that's this little support truck. Now think about that. They rigged what was left of a Gallup with 3 tank turrets, a busted Zaku 2 with a makeshift cannon, and essentially 2 hover trucks with a pair of machine guns on them. That's all they have against a state-of-the-art but banged-up Federation powerhouse that is the White Base. A suicide mission if I've ever heard one, and even Hamon tells the brave men that they will not be thought of differently if they back down. But they all stay. She even shakes the hand of all 16 soldiers and addresses them by name, something I'm sure Ramba Ra would have been very proud of.
Ma'am?
I'm counting on you, Torgan. You too, Misaki.
Meanwhile, Ryu, still trying to help, is still a hot mess from his injuries. You have to feel for him because he's helpless trying to recover, and all he wants to do is his part on the ship. Ryu tries to convince Bright to let Amuro out of the brig. Granted, Amuro broke protocol a few episodes earlier, but Bright seems to have taken this very personal with Amuro.
If we make him feel like we're relying on him to survive this war, his head will swell even more.
On one hand, who can blame him? Amuro has been insubordinate and full of himself. On the other hand, as a captain, he should be trying to make amends with his crew as opposed to just locking him up. No sooner than Bright sends Ryu back to his quarters in the medbay, Ryu somehow crawls and hobbles his way around White Base, this time to Amuro's cell in the brig. He's being a mediator between Bright and Amuro, all the while being injured. Oh, the foreshadowing.
You know, Bright is scared of you. He's even been comparing you to a tiger. He's too scared to talk.
Bright thinks I'm like a tiger?
I have high hopes for you, Amuro.
Suddenly, Tachi and his Zaku begins to open fire and commences what he calls the drill attack. A drill attack is a charging tactic where attackers strike the enemy's weak points and then focuses on one weak point while ignoring all the other weak points. Sounds pretty straightforward, but how is one Zaku going to pull that off? Tachi does have somewhat of an advantage because of a sandstorm brewing around White Base. Hayato is normally partnered with Ryu, but because Ryu is injured, the JoJo of the series, Job John, is handling the gun tank's driving. The Samsung trucks flank the opposite side of the White Base. Kai attempts to intercept, but Hayato's gun tank gets stuck due to damage from the previous battle. Tachi once again pops up in another weak spot and unleashes a barrage. He's actually doing pretty good here. Frau Bo and Sayla help the hobbled Ryu back to his bed, but Ryu pleads with Sayla to let Amuro out. Ryu knows that without the Gundam, White Base is doomed. Sayla tries to talk to Bright, but Bright being Bright is stubborn.
I need to unlock Amuro's cell door, Bright. What's the code?
Have you any idea what you're saying?
Ryu has been talking to Amuro, alright?
Give me a break.
Not a good look for you, Bright, but in the end he caves in and Amuro is on the loose. Over the horizon, Hamon, in the center Magellatop riding on the Gallup's cargo unit, opens fire and has White Base in her sights. Due to inefficient repairs, Amuro has to launch on the core fighter and do a mid-air flight conversion.
Right! Mirai! The core fighter is launching, alright?
Amuro's gonna do what he wants anyway, so...
Stop, Mr. Bright.
Holy sh**, Bright, I didn't think you would be this whiny.
Better watch out, cause I'm not the whip I was before!
Damn, Kai, you go, boy! This is the beginning of Kai's transformation from snide asshole to a capable pilot. Back on the ship, Ryu notices Bright being Bright and decides to once again get out of bed. This time to try and somehow get the gun tank to move. Amuro takes out one of the Samsons and begins to do the mid-air conversion of the Gundam.
Launching Gundam B module. Here comes Amuro!
Now those of you might be saying, well, why the hell didn't Zeon just shoot them out of the sky during this transformation? Well, this is a typical thing you find in mecha anime or even tokusatsu. You don't interrupt the henshin. Once the Gundam is converted, Amuro immediately takes out the other Samson. Tachi makes a break for the white base and tosses the Magella top cannon aside. A curious decision, but maybe he was out of ammo, so Tachi uses the Zaku's heat hot axe to attack white base. A smart move because if he is close to white base, Amuro can't shoot. Amuro realizes this and decides to close in on Tachi. But Crowley Hammond and her giant bomb of doom rushes towards the Gundam in white base. At this distance, if Amuro were to shoot it, it would unleash an explosion so powerful it could take out white base. Amuro does his best to have Gundam push back the Gallup's cargo unit. With his hands full on trying to push, Amuro fires his head Vulcans, but the Magella tops fly off. If the cargo unit collides with white base, it will cause a chain reaction and take everything around with it. With victory in her sights, Hammond orders Tachi to attack Gundam from behind.
Tachi, attack Gundam from behind so we can finish this!
Right, I'm on top of it!
If only it was a beam saber, then perhaps he would have cleaved the Gundam in half. But instead, it's a heat hawk axe, so it cuts deep, but it does not kill the Gundam. One of the Magella tops swoop in to try and finish off the Gundam, but like many of these crafty Gundam protagonists, Amuro pulls off a pro gamer move. Tachi, a pretty decent mobile suit pilot and lieutenant of the Principality of Zeon, dies November 7th, 0079. Hammond is surprised of Amuro's 2-for-1 special, so she ups the ante by swinging behind the Gundam at point-blank range. Remember, this is a 175mm cannon with armor-piercing capabilities. One shot destroys the Gundam's shield on its back. Another shot destroys the Gundam's backpack. One last shot is probably all it'll take and Amuro is a goner. That is until... Well, this is a first in Gundam death breakdown history. 2 died at the same time. Ryu got a hold of a core fighter and rammed the Magella top, kamikaze style. Crowley Hammond, Ramba Raw's beloved and sweetheart of Zeon, dies November 7th, 0079. And Ryu Jose, a portly Argentinian of the Earth Federation with a heart of gold, dies November 7th, 0079. Not realizing who was in the core fighter, Amuro continues on in the battle by destroying the final Magella top and destroys the Gallup's cargo unit. Victory for the white base crew. But at what cost? The loss of Ryu hit the white base crew pretty hard. Each one of them felt responsible for Ryu's death. Job John felt the most responsible because it turns out Ryu confronted him to take the gun tank's core fighter.
I have more experience than you!
But this gun tank doesn't move at all!
Stop being an idiot! You have to learn to be more resourceful when your back's against the wall, or you'll never survive in this war!
Even the loss of Matilda didn't phase the white base crew as hard as Ryu's death. I mean, just listen to them.
Ryu. Ryu! No, Ryu!
I cannot recall a moment where Bright sounded like...
Yes, it's exactly as Amuro says. Please, please, you must forgive me. Please, please.
The funny part is this whole scene was cut from the compilation movie, and instead had Hayato and Amuro in a fistfight over whose fault it was.
What's that for? How can you blame me?
You should have stopped Ryu, Hayato. He was out of his mind from pain.
I wasn't there when he stole the core fighter. I'd already launched alone and I was in the middle of a battle.
Ryu was your partner and now he's dead.
Ryu sacrificed his life to save you.
The loss of Haman affected virtually no one. All of Rabaral's unit was essentially killed, and she had no other ties with anyone else in Zeon. Ryu's loss molds the White Base crew to do better not only with their duties in the war, but for each other as well. Congratulations, you made it to the end. The cringe is over, unless you want more. Do it. Click those videos in the box. Do it. Do it.